thwip. We flew away from Superman.
I think I need a break after that.
Well, we'll get through. I won't go as in depth on Spider-Man.
Okay, good.
Lotus,
God damn, dude.
because the controversy is much more interesting than the movie. So, back in like 2020, late 2021, I think they announced that this fan film was being made called Spider-Man Lotus, and it's going to be written and directed by Gavin J. Knop. I think it's Knop. Mm-hmm. He is the writer-director on this. It was like it even got some traction where like there was Andrew Garfield and there was John Watts. John Watts was the guy who did the MCU Spider-Man. Yeah. They had like shown support for it early on, and there was some interest, but then it hit controversy a year ago.
Why?
So in June 2022. Why? Which, by the way, I'll tell you the story. It's 2 hours.
Tell me the story.
Real quick.
It's 2 hours long. The story is 2 hours long?
Yes. And let me tell you this, Tyler. There's only like 3 fight scenes. So like the first one is the one I've seen the most of. It's the beginning of the movie. Jesus, big farts over there.
Cooper.
Come on now. He's just like.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Also, with this whole movie's production, all I could think of was
Godspeed, Spider-Man.
Does that mean it was good or?
No, it's bad. No. So the main plot. So the thing I wanted to talk about too, which is why I don't think this guy understands Peter Parker and Spider-Man, because in the first fight, he's fighting Shocker. Which Shocker isn't shooting shockwaves. Remember, Shocker shoots shockwaves out of his arms, right? Because it's a shockwave. Shocker makes sense. No, he shoots lightning in this.
No!
Use Electro!
That's yes.
Anyway, he's going to throw lightning at Spider-Man. So here's what Spider-Man does. Runs up, webs a guy in front of him, throws that guy in front of the lightning that fucking Shocker shoots at him. Then there's 2 other guys. He webs them, knocks them together. They get hit by the Shocker thing.
Are these bad guys?
They're goons, yeah. But still, but Spider-Man doesn't kill people. That would kill someone.
So wait, it's killing these guys?
They fall down and they never get back up. I'm just saying, dude, if someone
he
throws a lightning bolt, he would not,
regardless of bad guy or good guy. Yeah,
he would never do that. Peter Parker would never do that.
Even bad guys, he would. Yeah.
Great example, Dan Slott, when he did the Superior Spider-Man, Octavia said he pulled his punches every time. He could have just ripped through people, and he never did, because Peter Parker doesn't kill people. And so, like that right there, I'm like, he wouldn't. Even if it wouldn't kill them, he would never put. Even if they're goons, he wouldn't put them in harm's way like that. Like.
Now I want to see an alternate universe series where Spider-Man like goes bad.
No, we get that with everything. But
yeah,
anyway,
but it'd be cool with him.
So that happens, and then we go to...
It'd be cool with him.
That happens, he stops Shocker, whatever. Then we go to Gwen, MJ, and Harry and Peter going out. So MJ and Harry are together, and Gwen...
Yeah. So 6.
And the whole time, like, Gwen is, like, looking distant and, like, not interested. I'm going to be honest, I don't even think her and Peter really talk much in their whole little scene.
Actors?
Yes. We'll get to the Peter Parker actor in a minute.
No, but I mean, like, compared to, like, the
Solo. No, yeah, these are clearly, like, an actor and not just a guy and some friends.
Yeah.
But after the whole dinner, then we get a surprise of Peter has a ring for Gwen. Which, again, if you're watching this movie, you're like, okay, I don't really see how they're together or anything because they don't really interact with each other. The whole time there's a conversation between Harry, like the 4 of them are outside the restaurant. There's a whole conversation, and it's like, whoa, 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 like that, while like Peter's looking at Gwen, but Gwen's not looking at it. It's a whole weird thing. Then opening credits happen after we get the idea of like, oh, is Peter going to get engaged to Gwen? Then we get credits, and in those credits, we find out Gwen died. Gwen's dead. So...
What do you mean in the credits we find out?
Okay, I'll get to the point of it. Because you clearly don't want to, like...
No. I mean, like...
no, I know. I'm trying to get to it.
Is it a montage in the credit?
Yes, that's the montage of that, yeah.
What's the deal with the montage with these guys?
I don't know. But anyway...
Those are not good for movies.
So anyway, the next scene we get, again, how I don't think this guy understands Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And then I'll jump to the...
I'm not mad at you.
I just want to hit the bullet points.
I'm mad at this guy.
I want to hit the bullet points because this movie's fucking boring. All right, so MJ meets up with Peter. She's got a letter in her hand and like tries to comfort him. Like, hey, I'm there for you. And he's like, you never cared. And blah, 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 like treats her like shit. Says like he's just mean. And I'm like, again, Peter would take kindly to that because Peter is a sweet, sensitive person.
Yeah.
And so that whole thing happens. But then we find out that the letter that she had with her, the envelope she had, it was a letter from a dying kid that wanted to see, terminally ill child that wanted to see Spider-Man.
What's the fucking deal here?
So the whole point of this movie is supposed to be Spider-Man processing his grief about the death of Gwen Stacy. And he's basing it off a comic book. There's an issue, The Kid Who Collects Spider-Man, that had this similar plot line where Spider-Man goes and talks, like does a Make-A-Wish thing for this kid.
I will say in defense of the guy who made this movie, at the very end of the drug storyline with Harry.
Oh, that's in this too.
No, but
it is in it.
At the very end of it is, after everything is done and Gwen's dead and Norman Osborn's dead and all this other shit, he lashes out at MJ. Like, you're just a party girl, you know nothing, da-da-da.
Yeah.
And I've told you about this. It's one of my favorite final pages. And she's standing there and she's looking at him and she has the door. She's about to leave, but instead she shuts it because she's going to stay and she's going to be with him and she's going to talk to him anyway, even though he was being a dick. Because she knows that he's just lashing out because he's mad.
No, and yeah, Peter's been a dick in the comics. I'm not saying he hasn't.
I don't want to defend this guy because it sounds like shit.
Oh, you're not going to want to defend the actor. So we get to
the actor.
I'm just going to try and hit the bullet points as much as I can.
I'll just shut up.
Well,
just shut up.
We cut to.
It sounds terrible.
Spider-Man being out, like sitting out sulking on the building. That's the thing. It doesn't feel like a Spider-Man movie at all. It's like this gringy. It looks like Batman, but Spider-Man skin on it. Like it's if like somebody made Batman Arkham Knight. They're playing it on PC and they put a fucking Spider-Man mod on it. Is what it's like. So yeah, he's like sitting out there, and then he has a flashback of his fight with Green Goblin. The Green Goblin costume.
Oh no!
This fight is so bad, and I think Gavin knew it was bad and tried to cover it up as much as he could.
Who's
so
Gavin?
The director. The shot is he's sitting there, it's raining, and he's like looking out, and then we go into the scene. The scene's happening. And this is how you could tell they're like, it blows my mind that they had all this money and they couldn't do this shot. So we see the Green Goblin. He looks traditionally like the comics Green Goblin, but his mask looks like it was from fucking Spirit Halloween because like the mouth doesn't really move. So the fight scene is very quick because they're like, oh, this looks like shit, so we got to shoot around it. So that happens. And then we hear just an explosion of a pumpkin bomb, but we never see it because that audio is there, but there's a shot of just him sitting out sulking still, but it's like this really stylized close-up shot of Spider-Man. And there's so many shots throughout this movie where it's like these big, like masturbatory shots. And it's like, okay, you seem like you're pretty competent. If those are real shots, you're a pretty competent cinematographer. But other than that, like there are some good shots, but most of the shots are bad. Most of the lighting's bad. And it's just like, and now that I say it out loud, I'm pretty sure I feel like most of the shots are just B-roll from somebody else. But anyway, so that whole fight happens. Then we cut, so we don't see the bomb, but then it cuts to his fucking costumes all torn up. And Goblin and whatever, and Gwen Stacy dies somehow. I don't remember. I don't care. So then we finally... By the way, that whole thing was like an hour into the movie, and this is a 2-hour movie. So then we finally get to him with the kid, and then, again, not understanding how Peter works as a character, tells the kid that, like, why do you look up to me? Why do you care about me? Why not, like, Captain America or Thor? Why am I so cool? Like, he's super emo about everything. I get it. Gwen died recently, or... a year ago. I don't know. This fucking movie doesn't tell me. There's also a lot of shots of people just walking for like 5 minutes. That's like weird. No dialogue, nothing. Just walking. And I'm like, this is supposed to be a Spider-Man movie. So anyway, he talks to this kid, and then at one point just says, yeah, whatever, man. We're all going to die anyway. It doesn't matter. Life sucks, blah, 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 blah. Leaves. And then like the kid's mom is like, hey, you shouldn't tell him that, just fucking humor the kid and be a nice person. Then he goes back and finally like opens up to the kid and takes his mask off and tells him, hey, I'm Peter Parker or whatever. And it's like, again, Peter would have never had that situation. I don't care how much he was grieving about Gwen. He would not have treated a sick, dying child like that. And that's pretty much it. So
that's the movie.
The kid helps him somehow, some way care about being Spider-Man again.
Yeah?
And so he's Spider-Man again. And his kid dies. I don't know. I can't remember, man. Let's talk about the controversy and we'll wrap it up because we got to watch Pride of the X-Men.
I'm fucking exhausted.
I know.
listening to
I'm
this
sorry.
shit.
I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. These movies just sound awful.
Unlike Superman Solar, look, we talk shit on it. I don't hate this guy that made it. He clearly has some weird views. I don't know. Maybe he could be QAnon, could be not. I don't know. These people, they did some shitty things, and I don't know if they're necessarily good people still. So in June 2022, Peter Parker himself, Warden Wayne, was called out because he had some old racist messages that showed up on social media. They were screenshots. And before people could even speculate, he came out the next day and said, yeah, it was me. So some of the things that he said, I don't know the context of this, but it says, although N-word looks like he bombs shit for fun. There's a picture of a brown-skinned man with a white woman. He says, here you go. Is this that Mexican N-word?
What the fuck? It doesn't even make sense.
He commented on Instagram saying, y'all ever make good and funny memes just to flex on blurred vision N-words? And he got mad. I don't know what the context is of that conversation. N-word was mean as hell, always saying N-word with the ER in all caps and saying he had bitches. I don't know. He's having some sort of conversation.
I don't think we need to continue anymore.
No, that's all I'm going to say. But so that came out, and he made a big apology about it, said he's getting better, and here's the way I look at it.
Getting better? How about just not using that fucking word?
He said he did it, like, his whole defense was, and in response to what this guy says.
It was Ambien.
He blamed where he came from or whatever, like,
oh, okay,
small town. I don't care to read his apology because whatever. But and people are gonna get, if you want to criticize that, I don't want to read his whole apology because it's a very long one. But essentially, what it said was that was a long time ago. He's not that person now.
5 years.
I don't remember the timestamp, but I think he was like, because the guy must be. I think he's like around my age, maybe a little bit younger. So he's probably a teenager when those DMs leaked. I don't know. Or when he made them. Either way, he should have known better at that age. I will say this. If he did, in fact, come from a small town, I can understand why he would say things out of pocket and not realize them or say something that he doesn't understand. But if you're straight up just saying the N-word but putting an A on it, it doesn't make it any better. Like, you can't. And I'm guilty of that, dude. When I was younger, I would post stupid shit on social media, too. So I understand that. But I just, like...
Oh, dude, I'm lucky I wasn't, social media wasn't
So I understand that, and
until I was in my 30s.
want to have a little bit of grace, but then I find out more about this Gavin J. Knopp guy, and I'm like, well, he's kind of a shitty person.
Gavin J. what?
Knopp. I don't know. I don't care. Shortly after, writer-director Gavin J. Knopp chimed in on Twitter, defending his actor, claiming he's not that person anymore. So he's pretty much saying, hey, we need to let people make these mistakes. And I can understand that to a certain level. And to be fair to Warden Wayne, I haven't seen racist things since from this guy. So
Also, your name is fake.
Warden. Who names their kid Warden?
Warden Wayne.
So he came out and defended him. He's like, hey, he's, you know, it was a long time ago. But then a few days later, Knopp got into hot water because he's similar to Wayne. He had messages with racial, homophobic slurs and even used the R word. Yeah. So, and I've seen him, and yeah, I'm not going to repeat them because I already repeated some of these. So yeah, that was bad. And then after that, the guy who plays Green Goblin in the movie, he came out and defended Warden Wayne in the controversy. He said, what did he say? He pretty much said, let's pull it up here.
Let's pull it up.
So yeah, when he was talking about the whole controversy, the guy who played Green Goblin, he said, to be honest, I have more of a problem with the overall sentiment that his use of the word, N-word, that doesn't sound like Gavin to me, but you never know. It's like, dude, you don't need to say it. We know he said it. And
yeah, what do you mean that doesn't sound like he wrote it?
Yeah.
And he posted it.
Yeah.
I mean, what? Okay, are we done talking about these?
Yeah.
Good God.
No, because I'm only saying this because I think it's funny. So after all this controversy, many fans began demanding a refund for their donations. However, according to some of the comments found on the site, some of the donors haven't received any word back from Warden Wayne or Gavin J. Knopp. Also, the hubris of this fucking guy, too. They had a red carpet for a fan film that was going to be for free on YouTube in like a day or two. Like, what are we doing? And then one final nail in this movie, one more final controversial thing I want to talk about, and then we'll get to the fun stuff of Pride. See, I put Pride at X-Men later because it's fun. The visual effects team quit. After all this shit happened, they quit. In response to the controversy surrounding, the Peter and the director, the entire visual effects team for Spider-Man Lotus collectively walked off the project. Artist Max Arnhammer, he talked about it in a YouTube video, which you could find on YouTube. He said he praised the other artists on their work before showing off some of the completed shots. He noted that he regret leaving the film, but that it was, quote, no longer aligned with what Superman, or good God, no longer aligned with what Spider-Man represents as a character. End quote.
So the movie that you watched, or the movie that you skimmed through,
none of this controversy, none of this shit would be worth it. I'm sorry.
No. You're telling me that you saw some completed shots? You're telling me that the VFX team quit? When? Like, is the movie that you saw not have completed VFX shots?
There's only like 3.
Okay.
There's only like 3 visual effects shots.
Okay.
The beginning where he's swinging, which actually looks good.
Okay.
So my interpretation of like this is that shot is from that team that was still there.
Yep.
His I want to say there's another
when he's beating up the kid.
And when he's doing the webs, I'm sure he's fucking beating this kid up.
Because it sounds just awful.
Maybe they helped with the Green Goblin thing, but the only like big visual effects shot that I would have seen that like was fully CG was him swinging. There was a really bad car chase with the cars. I'm like, wow, those are not real looking cars at all. But like him actually swinging in the city looked good.
Okay.
So like I feel like there were some pretty
so
good.
Maybe they finished the one shot and then they were just like, fuck.
There were a few visual effects shots. I'm like, okay, this is a little bit of a higher end fan film. Like it still doesn't look like his first shot of him swinging through the city was the best shot in the movie, and they had to show it off there because then everything else is just like this fucking boring.
Stay tuned for the rest of this bullshit.
And like, do you really think this movie would ever reach a mass audience? How fucking boring and slow it is. It's a Spider-Man movie. Yeah, Peter Parker is an emo-sensitive guy, but he's not fucking sulking Bruce Wayne.
But he's generally affable.
He's relatable. That's the whole thing.
He's generally a guy who's like, I'm just trying, man.
You want to root for him.
Yes. He's like me.
You want to root for him. This went longer than I expected. This took an hour. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what the fuck? Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.